The best ARK Survival Ascended settings for you to enjoy the game in your single player world. To set up your single player world, you want to click Create Game. Then you want to select which map you want. Right now we only have the island, but later many more maps will be added. These settings will apply to all the maps. Now you want to go to game rules and you will notice on the bottom choose difficulty. Here you have three options: easy, medium and hard. ARK is a bit weird. Easy and medium will sort of break the game. You really want to select hard difficulty to have a good experience. So what we changed over here is water, food and stamina drain. The lower the value, the less often you will have to eat, drink or regain stamina. We have this at 0.6, just to make everything a bit more convenient, but you can set these however you prefer. Next is health recovery. We have this at 1.2, so basically you will recover 20% faster, which can be helpful, especially early game, for example in the snow. You can change this back to 1 later if you'd like. Next is harvesting damage. This will make it that you will harvest resources much faster, which also means you increase the amount of resources that you will farm. We have this at 2.5. Moving on to the creature section. On the top you see max count. This stat is extremely important. For some reason in ASA the dino spawns seems very low. Increasing this setting means increasing the amount of dinos that will spawn in your world. I have this at 1.5, but you can change it however you want. You can have it at 3 if you want really a lot of dinos to spawn. Then we have food drain. Increasing this stat means that dinos get hungry more quick. Why increase this, you ask? It means that if you are taming something, they will eat food quicker, which means that they will tame faster. This also means that your own tames get hungry more fast, but not to worry, we got that covered with other settings later in the video. Next is health recovery. We have this at 1.2. This can be really helpful for taming creatures that sometimes have low health, like for example a dire bear. So it's less likely that you kill it while trying to tame it. Moving on to harvesting damage. Increasing this stat will increase the amount of resources that your tame will gather. I have this at 5.5, which means you will harvest much more resources with your dinos. None of the other settings have been changed. Now on the top, go to the structure tab. Over here you will see damage. This will increase the damage that spike walls do. I find this really helpful early game to kill off the parents of the wild baby dinos, so you can easily tame the baby dinos. Or just for simply extra protection while taming in general. I have this setting at 1.5. Next up is disable structure collision. Basically, if you have this enabled, it allows you to build with more freedom, similar to structure plus. So I have this enabled. Moving on to the world tab. We have XP multiplier at 1.5. Honestly, with all the other settings combined, you will level up really fast. So you could even lower it if you want to. I personally enjoy the early game, so just set it the way you like it. The taming speed multiplier is set to 3. I feel like this is a very solid taming speed, not too fast, not too slow. Harvesting yield multiplier, this changes how much resources you get from one resource. Like for example, the total amount you get for fully harvesting one tree or one rock. I have this at 3.5. Next, I decided to turn on speed leveling. This allows you to level movement speed on your character as well as your tames. I also turn it on for flyers, but again, set it the way you really like it. Next up is maximum difficulty. This one is extremely important. While it sounds more difficult to have it on, it actually is more easy to have it enabled. What does this mean? This makes dinos spawn all the way up to level 150 instead of those weird low levels like for example level 7, level 23 dinos. Nobody likes those. Just below this you will see the difficulty level. This actually changes the levels of dinos and the quality of the loot drops in your world. If you lower this, you will lower the level of dinos and the quality of the drops in your world. So just leave it at default 1 for the best experience. All the other settings we left as default. Moving on to rules. We did not change much here, but what is really important if you go all the way down is that you have single player settings enabled, since this acts as a multiplier for all the other stats in this video, giving you a faster single player experience. Let's move on to the advanced section. Here you have a lot of options. You can see they are all divided in separate groups. The first one is PvE. You can see we turned on cave building. Basically, if you like to build in all the caves, just have this enabled. Then we have allow cave flyers. What this does is this allows you to use flyers in caves like for example a PT or Argent Davis. Next is PvP. Nothing has been changed here since we play on single player. Moving on, the first thing we changed is the daytime speed. Lowering this value will increase the length of the day. So we have this at 0.7. So our daytime will be 30% longer. And the nighttime we left on default. Nothing else has been changed on the left hand side. On the top we have harvest health. What this does is it makes it harder for you to break rocks and trees, so you need to hit them more often. But at the same time this will also increase the yield that you will get from those resources. Currently it seems a bit bugged, but they will probably fix it soon, so I have this at 5. Next is the respawn interval. We have this at 0.5, so everything you harvest like trees, rocks, will respawn much more fast. Then, crop growth speed. I have this at 4. The default setting seems very slow, and I like to be able to make a lot of recipes. Crop decay speed. We have this at 2. This makes it so your crops do not die out as fast. The mating interval I changed to 0.15. This makes it that you can make eggs much faster. So now you only have to wait about 50 minutes instead of a couple hours to make some more eggs. If you want your dinos to mate more frequently, you can just lower this even more. We did not change the lay egg interval. Then, the egg hatch speed. Increasing this means that your eggs will hatch faster. I do not like to wait 10 minutes, so I use 45. This means that a RG egg will only take about 30 seconds to hatch. Moving on to anyone can baby cuddle, not really important in single player, but I have it turned on anyway. Then we have baby mature speeds. This one is extremely important. You need to balance this one with baby cuddle interval, but I will explain this in just a moment. So we have this at 7. This might seem low, but with single player settings enabled, everything multiplies, and even with 7, mature speed only takes about 20 minutes for a T-Rex to go from baby all the way to fully grown. Then, the baby food consumption. I have this at 2 just making it a little bit more easy that the babies need less food. Then we have baby cuddle interval. So this one is extremely important. You need the right balance in between this and the baby mature speed if you want to be able to imprint your dinos 100%. I have this at 0.07, which means that every 5 minutes your dinos want imprint. This will allow you to imprint dinos like, for example, a trike 100% with just 1 imprint, while larger dinos like, for example, a Rex will require 3 imprints. Then on baby cuddle loose imprint we have this at 0.2. Then for the baby imprint stat scale, increasing the stat means that the boost you get from a imprinted dino will be larger. We have this at 1.3, which means that if we 100% imprint our dinos, they will be 30% more stronger compared to the normal default. Since we play on single player, this will help out so that you are faster ready to take on the bosses. Moving on to the wild dino tab. On the bottom you will see torpidity. If we lower this, it means that all the wild dinos will have less torpor, which means you will knock them out quicker. I have this at 0.8, so you will need 20% less arrows to knock them out. Moving on to the Tamed Dino section. We have changed a lot of things here, starting at health. We have set this at 0.13, then stamina we changed to 1.3, weight at 2.5, and the damage we have at 0.14. So, with changing all these stats, you will get much more health, stamina, weight and melee on your tamed dinos with each level. But it's not like it's game breaking, you still have to work for it, which is very nice. Moving on to add per level, starting at health 0.08, stamina at 1.3, weight at 2.5 and damage at 0.08. Then stat affinity, you want to have health at 0.22, stamina at 1.3, weight at 2.5 and then damage at 0.2. For all the other stats, nothing else has been changed. Moving on to the player tab. We changed a couple of things in here, starting with weight. I do not like being overweight super fast, so I have this at 3.5, which means every time you put a point into weight, you will gain 35 instead of 10. Then damage at 2.2. I like this especially for the early game to be stronger with your melee weapons. Then we have fortitude at 3. All others I left untouched. XP multipliers is all default. This is not needed since we already changed the experience with other settings. Moving on to Misc Advance. The first thing we changed is allow raid dino feeding. Basically this makes it so that if you tame a titan, you can keep it instead of it disappearing just after 1 day. Custom recipe effectiveness. This will make your crafted recipes more powerful, so I have this at 2. Crafting skill bonus, if you have points invested on your character in crafting skill and you have a nice blueprint, then increasing the stat means that your crafted item will be better. So I have this at 1.5. Supply crate loot quality. We have this at 3, which means all the drops will have much better loot, so higher quality ascended or just regular items. This applies to cave drops and all the drops in the open world. Then for the fishing loot quality we did the same. We set it to 3. Platform structure limit we have at 5. So basically you can build many more structures on platform saddles. Show floating damage text. Simply having this enabled will show the damage numbers in your single player world. Now make sure to save your settings and start your world.